In December of 1989, the United States launched one of the fastest, most precise military operations of the modern era. It happened in a place many Americans had only heard about on the news, Panama, the narrow stretch of land connecting North and South America. But this wasn't a simple show of force. This was Operation Just Cause, the U.S. mission to remove a dictator who had crossed every line a leader could cross, and to protect American lives caught in the middle of his collapsing regime. The man at the center of the storm was General Manuel Noriega. Once an ally of the United States, he had become a hostile strongman, involved in drug trafficking, election fraud, and violent repression throughout Panama. By late 1989, the relationship between Washington and Noriega had shattered. He attacked political opponents, ignored international pressure, and even threatened Americans living in Panama. When a U.S. Marine was killed at a Panamanian Defense Forces checkpoint, the situation reached a breaking point. The U.S. decided it was time for decisive action. The objective was clear: remove Noriega from power, rescue endangered U.S. citizens, and neutralize the Panamanian Defense Forces with overwhelming precision. The operation became the first combat mission to feature America's newest and most secretive aircraft, the F-117 Nighthawk stealth bomber. On the night of December 20th, American forces moved in. The F-111s opened the operation with carefully calculated strikes meant to stun and disorient Panamanian forces without causing unnecessary casualties. These were not massive, landscape-changing bombings. These were pinpoint precision attacks designed to limit the ability of Noriega's troops to coordinate a meaningful defense. For many watching from inside Panama City, the sky seemed oddly quiet for an invasion. And that was the point: stealth, precision, and speed. Meanwhile, across Panama, U.S. Army Rangers parachuted into key airfields, securing them before the Panamanian Defense Forces even realized what was happening. Mechanized units swept in from bases along the canal, while special operations teams targeted command posts, barracks, and Noriega's intelligence network. The mission unfolded so quickly that in some areas, entire units of Panamanian soldiers were isolated before they had fired a single shot. Supporting these ground forces were aircraft built for close, overwhelming fire support. A C-130 gunships circled overhead, raining down accurate fire on hardened positions that refused to surrender. These gunships, with their heavy cannons and unmatched loitering time, kept defenders pinned down and prevented counterattacks throughout the night. Alongside them were AH-6 Little Birds, small, agile attack helicopters flown by some of the most skilled pilots in the U.S. Special Operations community. They darted between buildings, landed in tight urban zones, and provided surgical fire support that larger aircraft simply couldn't. In an operation involving more than 25,000 American troops, the coordination was nearly flawless. This wasn't the jungle warfare of Vietnam or the grinding desert battles that would follow in the Middle East. This was rapid intervention, fast, modern, and built on precision. The Panamanian Defense Forces, while armed and familiar with the terrain, were completely overwhelmed by the speed and accuracy of American operations. Within hours, key bases and cities had fallen. Within days, the Panamanian military collapsed entirely. Noriega himself fled. He moved from safe house to safe house, hiding inside loyalist neighborhoods while U.S. psychological operations bombarded the area with messages urging his surrender. In one of the most unusual moments in modern military history, U.S. forces blasted loud music, everything from rock to heavy metal, at the Vatican embassy where Noriega eventually sought refuge. It was psychological pressure meant to break his will, and after days of confinement and noise, he finally surrendered to American authorities. What made Operation Just Cause stand out wasn't just the speed of the victory or the fall of Noriega's regime. It was the way U.S. technology and combined arms coordination were used. For the first time ever, the F-117 stealth bomber entered combat, proving that a nearly invisible aircraft could strike deep inside enemy territory with precision. The AC-130 continued its legacy as one of America's most reliable and feared close air support platforms. And the AH-6 Little Birds showed again why they're the preferred tool for special operations teams who need speed, agility, and accuracy in dense terrain. Despite the scale of the operation, U.S. casualties remained relatively low. This was partly due to the element of surprise, partly due to the professionalism of the troops, and partly due to the overwhelming air power that suppressed hostile forces before they could mount any coordinated resistance. By the time the fighting stopped, the Panamanian Defense Forces were broken, Noriega was in custody, and Panama began the long process of rebuilding. Strategically, the operation sent a message that America could project its power with precision and speed. It showed that the U.S. military had learned from past conflicts and was ready for the kind of rapid intervention that would define much of the 1990s. It also demonstrated that the integration of stealth aircraft, special operations forces, gunships, and conventional ground units could create a nearly unstoppable combination. For older Americans who remember the era, the operation marked the end of the Cold War style of proxy dictatorships and the beginning of a new period where the U.S. military took a more direct role in shaping events in the Western Hemisphere. It was a sign that the United States would not allow a hostile regime to threaten its citizens or undermine regional stability. From the opening strikes of the F-117 to the final surrender of Manuel Noriega, Operation Just Cause remains one of the most decisive and well-executed military interventions in modern American history. It showcased the strength, coordination, and discipline of U.S. forces and proved that when America chooses to act, it can act with overwhelming control. This was the night when stealth technology met real-world combat. The night when firepower and precision combined to overthrow a dictator. And the night when the U.S. military reminded the world that its reach and its resolve remained unmatched.